At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the San Diego Padres. Tuesday night baseball is courtesy of Fios by Verizon. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Fios, the best way to watch your Mets all season long. Get the 100% fiber optic network. Visit getfios.com. By Cadillac, visit CadillacTristate.com for exceptional offers. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. And by Hyundai, get a great deal more than a great deal on all new Hyundai vehicles. See your Hyundai dealer today. Hot town, summer in the city. Hot, humid, breakdancing. It's nice. Imagine being able to do that. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets play the middle of the game of their series with the Padres. Moments ago, the Mets placed Yoenis Cespedes back on the disabled list. No decision yet on surgery. The Mets are waiting for another opinion before they make that call. But it does appear the Mets are going to be without Cespedes for an extended period of time again.
Well, like Gary said, they're waiting on a second opinion. And if it does come to surgery, which we don't know at this point, we know what we have with Cespedes. We don't know what we have out there that's playing every day, and it opens the door for Nimmo to play every day and these other guys to show their wares, because this club obviously is a little bit of transition, Gary, and let these young guys get out there and play and show their stuff.
And to take Cespedes' spot on the roster, the Mets have promoted Jeff McNeil, who's an interesting kid, 26 years old, really was a non-prospect till this year, but all of a sudden has started hit and hit for power.
Well, this is his 6th season in the minor leagues, and he's a career 300 hitter in the minors. But the 5 seasons prior to this year, the most home runs he hit were 3. He's got 19 this year and 71 RBIs and 340 at bats. So he's having a heck of a year. He's a second baseman. I can't wait to see him swing the bat.
Ask him why. He'll say good health, and that's a big reason why he has thrived. Meanwhile, Zach Wheeler goes to the mound, trying to continue what has been a really fine season for him.
It really has. There was a day when we talk about Zach Wheeler starts in game, and it would be pitch count, and can he get through 5 innings? That is no longer. He's been so efficient, great out there on the mound, now pitching 6 and 7 innings.
Mets will face another young lefty. Eric Lauer goes to the mound for the Padres.
Well, the Mets have had a hard time against left-handed pitching. This is another starting pitcher that was drafted in the 2016 draft, just like Lucchesi from last night. Got a great pickoff move, has more pitches than we saw from Lucchesi last night.
So the Mets and Padres on a muggy night at Citi Field as the Mets try and get even in the series. Mets and Padres, all the action coming your way on SNY. One Republic comes to Citi Field this weekend, Saturday, July 28th, Sunday, July 29th. For tickets, visit Mets.com/ZBB. Fios is bringing super fans closer to their Mets than ever before. With Fios, you get an amazing picture, so every game feels like you're in Citi Field all season long. Get the 100% fiber optic network. Visit getfios.com to learn more. Marvel presents the Noah Syndergaard as Thor bobblehead on Saturday night, August 4th, to the first 25,000 fans in attendance, courtesy of Citi. Last year's Thor bobblehead was named the #1 promotion in baseball by MLB and the #1 bobblehead in Mets history by SNY.TV. Don't miss out on this season's most exclusive item. Go to Mets.com/tickets to purchase your seats today. Driver on the majors presented by Audi. Daniel Ponce de Leon threw 7 hitless innings in his major league debut last night, then got sent back to the minor leagues. Among the longest no-hit bids in major league history in a big league debut. Billy Rohr, 1967, broken up by Elston Howard with 2 on the ninth.
Ross Stripling was taken out of that game for a pitch count too.
Here at Citi Field, Zach Wheeler will take the mound. His first start out of the All-Star break. His first pitch is coming right up. Being called up, we did not mention Phillip Evans has been recalled. Had 9 at-bats for the Mets earlier this year. He's in the lineup and playing third base tonight. Welcome back, Phillip. Here's the Hyundai starting lineup for the Padres tonight. Manuel Margot moves up to the leadoff spot after his RBI triple last night. Otherwise, pretty much the same lineup. Hunter Renfroe gets a start. First pitch by Zach Wheeler, a fastball in for a strike to Margot, and we're underway.
You see the Toyota Wheeler numbers, 4.44 ERA, but the last 9 starts beginning in June, his ERA is 3.5.
And he threw a first pitch strike to Margot. His last start against the Nationals, he threw 28 of 32 first pitch strikes. Margot drives one out to left center field. Back in the gap go Nimmo and Conforto, and Nimmo takes charge for the first out of the night. Margot hits another ball well against a Met pitcher. If he got to play against the Mets all the time, he would be an all-star.
Now there's Nimmo calling off. He's the chief of police out there in the outfield.
If you notice, Margot hit a hanging slider last night, hit a curveball there. Maybe a good breaking ball hitter.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Carlos Asuaje, who was 0 for 4 last night, playing second base again tonight. Zach Wheeler's second start against the Padres this year. He was the beneficiary of a 14-run Mets barrage the first time he faced them in San Diego.
That's way back in April, that series, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, end of April.
Mets won 2 out of 3. That should be the giveaway. Mets have gone 17 straight series without winning one, and if they don't win tonight or tomorrow, that would be 18, and that would tie a club record.
No, Mesoraco likes that glove.
We showed it last night with the rips and tears and scuffs, and he's not making a change.
Looks like a dog got after it.
Asuaje pops one up into shallow left, and in comes Conforto. 2 fly balls, 2 outs for Wheeler to start the night.
Your Metsy defense, Lexus Metsy defense on the infield. Phillip Evans, we just got recalled. Didn't have much of a chance, as Gary said, only 9 at bats. But he's going to get some playing time now. Things have changed up here. And out in the outfield here, you're not going to see much change. Batista's earned a starting role there in right field.
Here's Will Myers, who had a pair of doubles against Jacob deGrom last night. That makes him unique. Myers is the only player with multiple extra base hits against deGrom this season, not just in one game, but across the entire season.
20 starts.
Yet another indicator of just how fantastic deGrom has been, despite the 5-5 mark in front of his name. Wheeler throws a 98-mile-an-hour fastball by Myers. Wheeler's fastball velocity has gotten higher and higher each month of the season. In fact, now his average fastball velocity has outstripped deGrom for the year. Slider off the plate, 2-2.
Tick over 96 miles an hour.
It just seems to me, Ronnie, that he's got a little better idea with his breaking stuff, and that's why he's pitched so much better.
And Myers went around to the half swing on the slider, and Wheeler has himself a 1-2-3 opening inning. Doubled up on the slider and got Myers on the half swing. Mets come to bat with no score. Geico Mets starting lineup tonight. Phillip Evans, who's been tearing up lefties in AAA, gets a shot against a lefty tonight after his call-up. Otherwise, the lineup the same as last night as the Mets face another rookie lefty, this time Eric Lauer.
He got beat up in his last start against the Cubs, gave up 5 runs in 2 innings. But before that, he was pitching well in his last 8 starts. ERA 2.5.
Ahmed Rosario 1 for 5 last night. A bunt hit, a stolen base, a run scored.
You'll see his Land Rover numbers. The issue for Lauer is he usually has a lot of traffic. His whip is almost 1.7. That means 1.7 base runners per every inning.
More hits than innings pitched. That's But he's another one of those lefties, not overpowering, a little funky motion.
And he has been vulnerable early in games. His ERA in the first 2 innings is 6.47. It's about half that after the second inning.
Yeah, there's no gray for Eric Lauer. In the games that the Padres have won when he started, his ERA is 1.5. When they've lost, it's over 7.
And like Lucchesi last night, does not throw particularly hard. Unlike Lucchesi, he doesn't really have a big-time secondary pitch. Lucchesi was very impressive last night with his fastball curve combination. Still can't believe I'm saying the word curve.
It's all right. It works. It's a good pitch.
Can't believe I'm saying Mickey.
I like it.
Here's the 3-2. It's outside, and Rosario's I want to lead off walk.
The Jeep Padre infield on the defensive side. I got to repeat myself. There's a 4-time Gold Glover over there. That really, this guy can pick it. Very smooth. Made an error last night. Very uncharacteristic error. Out in the outfield. Margot can cover some ground, can fly. He's also a Met killer. Assassin.
Renfro's got that big arm in right field.
Big arm and big power when he's right.
Here's Asdrubal Cabrera 0 for 5 last night.
He was out early taking BP.
You know, I mentioned it last night with Lucchesi, who threw over and often to first base, but it's this young man Lauer who's got a great pickoff move. 9 pickoffs so far this year.
It leads the major leagues by a healthy margin. Nobody else has more than 6.
You know, I don't know if Ahmed thinks about these things, but usually when you're a leadoff runner, leadoff hitter, you want to get a big lead, one-way lead they call it. So you're favoring going back to first to draw the throw from Lauer to see what kind of move he has.
First time the Mets are facing Lauer, so they haven't seen it live before. And here's the quick move.
He's got a combination of moves. He has 2 or 3 of them.
That short step toward first base, very different from the one that Lucchesi showed last night.
You know, you don't face these teams like you used to 30 years ago, and you only face them twice around the season, and therefore unfamiliarity. So certainly want to draw the throw over, but he might be smart enough not to show the good one until it's real important.
Slicing away foul. It is very interesting, though, the difference in the 2 lefties' moves, right? Lucchesi hangs his leg and deceives you that way. This guy kind of turns his body toward the plate and then turns back to first.
That's right. And what's interesting, until he shows that he has a move where he can hold his leg in the air, then that's his tell. If he lifts that leg in the air and pauses, he's going to the plate unless he shows you he can come to first.
He's also, like Gary said, he speeds up that move with his right foot on his step to first. To me, that would be kind of a giveaway. And Ron, take a look and see when he goes home if that right foot goes behind the rubber. He's borderline.
Yeah.
It seems.
He crosses that left knee when he comes to the plate, so that should be another tell.
Technically a balk.
Yeah.
2-2 to Cabrera. And Asdrubal goes down swinging on a cutter, and that's the first out for Lauer.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Chief. Cabrera, a lot of talk of him being traded. When you were right before you were traded to the Mets, how was your play on the field, you think, the last week?
I had a lot of issues going on. I wasn't in a great mood. We were in first place too at the time when I was traded in 1983. Cardinals were in first. We weren't playing well, and I certainly wasn't playing well. So I think it's different here. It's a whole different scenario. They're a team in last place.
Do you think it's also different because Cabrera's been down this road so many times before?
I'm certain of it, and you know, this is, I mean, from my standpoint, this has been a real kind of demoralizing season, you know, even for me up here to watch, because I want this team to do well. And this is the most, I guess demoralized is the only real word I can come up with, but, you know, you got to dig in, and you can't call the season off.
1-1 to Flores. Wilmer 1 for 3 last night. Drove in one of the 2-man runs. Well, the answer to the question, Ronnie, is that Keith, in the 2 weeks before the trade to the Mets, hit .234 with no homers and 6 RBIs.
What, the last 2 weeks?
Very Keith like
stinking it up. I remember. I was just in a funk then. My biorhythms were off. I just.
Well, let me ask you a question that may be hard for you to answer. Do you think at some level you wanted to get traded?
No, I love the Cardinals. The issue really was, I think, between Whitey and myself, Gary. I wanted to be liked, and I always liked my managers, and I never really felt from the get-go that there was just something that about me that Whitey didn't like. And you know, I played with Whitey, what, 2.5 years, 3 years, world championship, and it was almost like I felt like I couldn't please him sometimes, and that bothered me. So when I heard the rumors swirling that I was going to go get traded, I heard them 5 weeks before.
Wilmer floats one into left field. That'll fall for a base hit. Rosario stops at second, and the Mets have their first hit. Soft single to left for Flores, puts 2 men on.
But there was you know, there's the base hit by Wilmer on the cutter. Wilmer's so quick inside, and there's a lot of variables that come in that add up. I was just in a bad place then, so. And it really didn't change when I came over here. The second half of the season, Mets were going nowhere. It didn't change. It wasn't until '84, until spring training, that I realized I was traded to the Gold Rush.
The budding champions. Gold Rush. Here's Bautista with 2 men on. And it knocked down by Hedges on a cutter in the dirt.
Crossed up was Hedges. He was looking for the breaking ball, and he caught the fastball flush on, I think, his right quad. So he's looking for the breaking ball.
Oh, he sure did get crossed up. Ouch.
You're entitled to a free meeting, right?
That's
After
right.
You get crossed up.
Sometimes when you cross up the catcher, he has no interest in speaking to you.
Tell you what,
it happens. They don't.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Is it always the pitcher's fault, or does the catcher sometimes forget what he called?
95% of the time.
95. That's low. I would have thought you were going to say 99.
No, 95%. I played with some rockhead catchers. It was their fault.
No names. Bautista takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-1.
I used to use kind of a complicated signs when guys were on second base, and I had a couple catchers who were like, that's not going to work for me. We're not doing that. I said, okay.
And a curveball in for a strike, 1-2. Manny Gonzalez calling the balls and strikes tonight. Chad Whitson, Andy Fletcher, and the crew chief Lance Diaz rounding out the crew.
He's got the most unusual kind of headgear, doesn't he, Manny Gonzalez?
Looks like he belongs in a SWAT squad back there.
To Bautista, who has There's that
well,
headgear.
That's protection.
Good.
Yeah, I agree.
More the better.
I agree. It's got to be a pain in the neck. I'm sure it's very light, because that would really, I mean, you'd have to have a strong neck for 9 innings to sit with that thing on.
Also, when it's hot and muggy like this.
Oh. Oh.
Bautista takes strike 3 called. Fastball on the outside corner. And Bautista, who has struggled all year against lefties, another notch in that.
Well, this kid right here, what I noticed with the 2 left-handers, not overpowering. This was set up because he pitched inside. I mean, this is at the outside corner. That's what Steve Carlton used to do to right-hand hitters. He'd pound that stuff inside almost all the time to the right-handers, then dart that fastball knees in black outside corner for a strikeout.
Second strikeout for Lauer. 2 out and 2 on for Conforto, who's really picked it up lately, and even more so against lefties over the last month or so. Consider this, that June 15th, Conforto was hitting 167 against lefties. Since then, 395.
Yes, he has. That's 15 for 38 to be precise, which is very nice. And he's using the all the field since coming back from the All-Star break.
2 hits against the lefty last night, both to left and left center.
Ooh, Gonzalez has a big strike
zone. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Very good for the pitchers.
I always see that throat protector and I think of Steve Yeager all the time. That happened in the World Series when Yeager got that foul, that splintered bat, and it got him in the throat. I forget whose bat it was.
It was a Clint Malarchuk moment.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Skate.
The goalie who got slashed across the throat.
If ever since Yeager got hit, and that was in the late 70s, it had to be early 80s.
1-2, and Conforto takes one the other way. Nice stop by Villanueva. Can he throw him out from a knee? No. And the bases are loaded. Villanueva, who had a rough night last night, handling a ball just like that. This time makes a sparkling play to save a run, but Conforto winds up with another hit against a lefty, taken the other way.
Conforto, this is such a good sign, and he doesn't have to hit like this for 2 strikes. Being on a 2-strike count, it seems like he's really bearing down with 2 strikes. Left-handers are going to go outside predominantly, and you can go up there with that approach, and then you can get them. You keep hurting them the other way, then they're going to come into where you want it. They're going to make a change.
So now bases loaded, 2 out for Devin Mesoraco. Had a really rough night last night, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
I mean, he's not over swinging here, and he's not punching it. That is just a good, solid 2-strike swing. And I love what I'm seeing.
Ball and a strike to Mesoraco. Devin struck out in his last 3 at-bats last night. He's got the bases loaded here with 2 down. Mets looking to get off to a fast start against a pitcher who has struggled early in games. And Mesoraco drills one toward the left field corner. That'll bring in a couple, maybe 3. Rosario is in. Flores scores. Here comes Conforto, and he will score. A bases clearing double for Devin Mesoraco, and the Mets are off to a 3-0 lead.
Boy, did Mesoraco need this one right here. Turns on that cutter, didn't cut much. And Conforto was motoring. Watch Conforto on the backside. He gets going. He's quick. Atta baby, bring that ribeye steak home.
Nice. Rosario telling Conforto to get down on the outside of the plate.
So a big 2-out hit from Mesoraco brings home 3. And now Brandon Nimmo hitting 7th in the order for the 2nd straight night against the lefty. Brandon 1 for 3 was also hit by another pitch last night, his 16th, extending his club record. hitting just 162 over the last 22 games. Today was the day that Major League Baseball announced the Heart and Hustle Awards, one member of each team, and it should come as no surprise that Brandon Nimmo was the honoree for the Mets. Nobody shows more heart nor hustle.
Close pitching coach Darren Balsley, who's coming out to talk to his young left-hander. Now he knows he's had a lot of trouble early in the game. He's probably had a lot of visits early in the game. You know, it's just command for Lauer. He's got enough stuff to get by. It's just he has not been able to throw enough strikes.
Keep in mind that Lauer's got backward splits this year. He's been hit harder by lefties than he has been by righties. Lefties hitting .329 against Lauer. He's behind on Nimmo 2-0. And Brandon takes a cutter off the plate 3-0. Phillip Evans, the number 8 hitter, on deck. 3 runs in the first. 6th time this year the Mets have done that. They've never scored more than 3 runs in a first inning this year. And Nimmo takes ball 4. Second walk of the inning issued by Lauer. And early action in the Padres bullpen. Left-hander Robbie Erlin is up. Remember, Lauer had a rough last outing before the break. Gave up 5 runs in 2 innings against the Dodgers 9 days ago. Snapped a string of 8 really good starts in a row for Lauer. But he acknowledged that he was gassed at the All-Star break.
Somewhere Jacob deGrom is saying, really?
So here's Evans, who was 1 for 9 in his earlier stint this year with the Mets. Started 1 game in left field back in May. This is his 2nd start. And the reason Evans got the recall today is with the Mets facing 3 lefties in a row in this series. Evans was hitting .362 with 8 home runs and 58 at bats against lefties in AAA. I mean, just tearing them up. Not hitting much against righties, but strafing left-handers. Evans got some time with the Mets last year. Yoenis Cespedes on the disabled list one more time. And we'll find out later tonight or tomorrow what the long-term prognosis is. In other words, whether he's going to have surgery if that decision's been made. Evans pops one up on the right side. And Hosmer calls for it. And puts it away to retire the side. But Devin Mesoraco's 3-run double puts the Mets in front early, 3-0 after 1. Lefty Gomez says, I was the worst hitter ever. I never even broke a bat until last year when I was backing out of the garage.
Lefty, he had a lot of sayings, didn't he?
Hall of Famer.
Played 13 years, huh?
20 more wins, 4 times.
14 years, excuse me. My math's brutal.
I'll get you a calculator.
26-5 record to 1 year. Holy, that's like unbelievable. That's Doc.
That's like if DeGrom goes 21-0 the rest of the year.
Right.
Eric Hosmer leads off in the second inning against Zach Wheeler, who now has a 3-0 lead. By the way, Lefty Gomez was not the worst hitting pitcher ever. He was a 147 lifetime.
Wow.
Some pitchers would kill for that. Fastball strike to Hosmer, who was 1 for 4 last night, trying to work his way out of what has been a deep July slump.
And the one at bat, critical at bat in last night's game, even though the Mets lost the game, was DeGrom struck him out. That was in the 8th inning, a 3-2 ball game. Fell behind him 3-1 and threw him 2 nasty sliders, Ronnie?
Yeah, one was a slider, one was a curveball. One was last one was a curveball, but it was the last batter he would face.
It was right after Mickey Callaway came out. Remember, Myers doubled and Callaway came out, and everybody figured that Jake was done as Hosmer takes one the other way. Hosmer's 40th opposite field hit this year, among the most in baseball.
All right, I just got Ron Herbel rates as one of the worst hitting pitchers. I just got a friend of mine.
How about Bob Buell?
Look at his index finger of Hosmer. Kind of sticks it out.
Yep. Interesting.
And then wraps.
You see all that, though? That's so you don't grip the bat hard. You kids out there, you don't want to squeeze the bat. And you saw him even open all 4 fingers as he took his bat back. You want to clench the bat right before contact, and that gives you the wrists that drive the ball. That was a nice shot. Good job, guys.
So the Padres have their first base runner of the night. Hunter Renfroe, the batter. Renfroe, who had 26 home runs last year as a rookie, bloops that one on the left side, and Evans is right there to grab it. 1 out. Anyway, you said Ron Herbel. Bob Buell 1 year went 0 for 70.
That's tough.
I mean, 0 for 70 is hard to do.
What did John Lester start? 0 for 66.
Yeah. But he's become a decent hitter now.
Very good. Got a home run this year.
I mean, most pitchers get worse as their careers go along.
Bob Buell was a good pitcher for those Bravos, the Braves.
Milwaukee Braves. Here's Freddie Galvis, 1 for 4 last night. He's been swinging a hot bat. Padres were in Philadelphia over the weekend, and Galvis got a chance to revisit his old haunts and had a pair of 3-hit games. Utley got another standing ovation tonight. He brought out the lineup card for the Dodgers.
Oh, he did.
In Philadelphia, his last ever series there. Barring postseason. Phils fell out of first place last night with their loss to the Dodgers.
But Atlanta loses to Miami today.
After the Braves clobbered the Marlins last night, big day for Real Muto today, and the Marlins win, so the Phillies have a chance to regain first place. Here are the standings up to the moment. Wheeler behind on Galvis 2-0, and he strokes 1 foul, 2-1.
Stay in there. Up and in. This is belt high.
Hosmer at first with 1 out. Christian Villanueva waiting on deck. 2-2 to Galvis. And he misses low and in. Full count. Hosmer runs and Galvis drives one to right. Bautista racing over and makes the catch. Hosmer was on his way to third. He'll be doubled off easily, and that retires the side. Hosmer running with the pitch. Thought that ball would elude Bautista. Jose made a terrific play. And the 9-3 double play ends the inning. So Bautista, who dropped a routine fly ball last night, makes a very nice play, and Hosmer a dead duck as the Mets turn 2 and lead 3-0 in the second. Yankees leading their game at Tampa Bay tonight in the third. Last night the Yankees fell by a run. A much talked about play to end the game. Gary Sanchez, bases loaded, 2 out. Assumed that the Rays were going to get a force. They did not. Half stepped it to first, got thrown out to end the game. Sanchez went on the disabled list today with a recurrence of his groin injury, but as he said again today, he was wrong for not running harder, and he's right. He was wrong for not running harder, but it's not really about Gary Sanchez. It's really about the way players approach situations where they run or don't run. It's become a game of assumption, right? You think the ball's going over the fence, so you don't run hard to first. You think the ball's going foul, so you don't run hard to first. You think there's going to be a forced play at second, so you don't run hard to first. And, you know, that's kind of antithetical to the way that you think the game is supposed to be played.
Well, there's always that term, you know, when you assume blah, 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 blah. You've got to run. We've seen guys not run to first base. We played the Yankees over in Yankee Stadium. He was the first day off the DL. Sanchez hardly ran to first base on a ground ball. We saw Bryce Harper, who made what I felt was really the arrogant comment, like, what are you asking me this for? You mean the ground ball I hit 108 miles per hour? So what does that mean? Because it's 108 miles an hour? And yeah, 999 out of 1,000 times, you're going to get thrown out by 10 feet, no matter how fast you are. But you still got to run to first base.
I think, you know, because we played in a different time, sometimes you can get nostalgic and think that the players that we played always ran hard to first. That's not true. Right. They were individual players on every team that did not run hard, but the repercussions for your actions was, I think, much more in those days. It would cost you playing time if you did not play the game how people thought was the right way to play it. I think now there's less really repercussions. We've seen some players being taken out of the game. You would never embarrass a player. Remember Girardi and Sanchez last year, there was an embarrassment issue at some point. So I think managers are very hesitant to embarrass a player nowadays, and sometimes that's the shock you got to give not only the player but the guys on the bench that witnessed something like that happen.
I think it all comes down to what's valued in the game, and I think, you know, as Cabrera flies one out to right this along the inning, and we'll continue the discussion into the next inning. If you value it as an organization, as a manager, as a player, then you're going to do it. And it's a question of what is valued the most. We'll continue the conversation when we come back. 3-0 Nets as we go to the third. Third inning, 3-0 New York. Christian Villanueva leads off against Zach Wheeler. Villanueva 0 for 3 last night. Hitting .227 for the year. His fast start in April merely a memory. However, he's hit more home runs than any rookie in the majors. 19. Villanueva, then Austin Hedges and Eric Lauer, the lower third of the order against Wheeler. Gave up a hit, but got a runner doubled off. He jams Villanueva, and Evans makes the throw on target, one away. So we were talking about the imperative of running to first on a regular basis, and especially in a key situation like happened last night. I think analytics have had an impact on this. You know, if you're a player, you can make the case, and I've heard some fans say this too. Why should the player run hard if he's going to be out 99% of the time, right? I hit a ground ball to shortstop. The guy's going to make the play 99 times out of 100. So why should I waste my energy, or why should the player waste his energy to run to first base hard on that infinitesimal chance that the ball gets bobbled?
But the issue is, once you give in once, it's easier to give in a second time. And I'll go back, I'll refer to Whitey Herzog, who came in when he took over the Cardinals, and it was his rule. And I remember, and I paraphrase, reading the story in the offseason, I know the players get tired. It's a long, hot season, particularly here in St. Louis, and all the travel. But my players will run out the balls. Will run the balls out hard. It was a $100 fine, and it was put into a pool at the end of the season. Now, I got criticized by Whitey. And that's, I mean, it's a touchy situation for me that Whitey said I didn't run the ball hard out to first base. Now, I remember Bobby Valentine telling me one time that I got out slow out of the box because I took a full swing, and that was true. But on AstroTurf in St. Louis, if I hit a bullet right at the second baseman or the shortstop, I would run out of the box as hard as I could, and watching the ball when the shortstop or the infielder made the play, and I saw the ball out of the hand, and I saw that it wasn't going to be a bad throw, I would downshift a little bit, not extreme, but I would cut it back a little bit. And you know, and you run the risk first baseman could drop the ball. It's probably never going to happen, but it can happen, and it could happen, as in Sanchez's case. It happens when you lose a ball game.
Well, you know, I was giving some thought to this, and think about it this way, you know, with
Hedges, low bridges, Wheeler, and he's got a base hit. Second hit against Wheeler.
You know, the aesthetics of the game are very important to the people who come every night to watch the game, or come one night to watch the game. And I think when there's so little happening, that when it is your time to run around the bases and play the game properly, which to some means one thing, to others mean other things. Right. But, you know, to the fans who come out and want to watch the game, you know, we were talking about it before in the food room. It's you know, if you spend $150 on a ticket to Broadway, you don't want a guy half-stepping through Eugene O'Neill. You know, you want him to give you everything that he's got, and I think that the fans deserve it to get that each and every night.
Go ahead.
I just want to make one point. I don't want anybody to get angry at me. Yogi Berra was a great player, a fantastic guy. But I happened to watch a long time ago, and I remember I was stunned. It was a World Series footage, black and white, and it was, I don't know what, guess probably one of the World Series games against the Brooklyn Dodgers.
See if he gets his right hand clipped here.
Oh, you know, he got away. Almost got him a little bit. I think it missed him. Anyway, Yogi made the last out of the game. He hit a little weak two-hopper back to the pitcher. The pitcher threw to first base. The out was completed. Yogi ran halfway down the line, made a right-hand turn to the dugout. But the out was already there, but he didn't run to first base. So it's not something that is just happened this generation or my generation. This, I think it's happened going back lots of generations in this game.
Yeah, and I guess it's a matter of how often it happens and what situations it happens. I was thinking about what Ronnie said about owing the fans a certain level of effort, and again, I think sometimes this can be different fans can look at it different ways. Different people who analyze these things can look at it different ways. Different players look at it different ways. But I do know this, that when you get a player like a Brandon Nimmo who runs hard all the time, those players tend to be the fan favorites.
Yeah,
right. Fans love players who hustle. And maybe I'm generalizing there, but I think you know, it stands out so much when a player runs hard all the time, as Brandon does, that I think you understand that if everybody played that way, it would make for a more entertaining game.
If you have one of your stars that busts his fanny down that line every time, and I'll just say one, Derek Jeter. That sets the tone for the other 24 and the young kids coming up. If Derek Jeter runs hard to first base, well, by golly, I better run hard to first base.
I'll give you another one. Mike Piazza.
Yeah.
Did you ever see him not run hard to first on a ground ball?
Yep.
And, you know, he was catching 9 innings. One and one to Margot. And he fouls one down the right side. 1-2. Well, it's interesting fodder for conversation because, you know, the way people look at what wins games has changed.
That's right.
And the way players get rewarded has changed. And I think that has an impact too, right? If you're being rewarded for home runs and nothing else, or if you're being rewarded for high on base percentage and nothing else, is a dribbler by Margot, and Wheeler has no chance to throw him out. Fakes to throw maybe to get Hedges coming around third, but he wasn't buying that. So it's an infield hit for Margot. If you're getting paid for certain things, then the intangibles that you may not get paid for might not be your highest priority.
Well, then moving forward, maybe some thought can be given to all the analytics in the game and start to identify things that would really enhance the game, make the game a better watch, and then compensating for that. That'd be hard, but You can figure everything else out. So maybe, you know, situational outs, moving runners over, things like that.
I just think that's one thing that gets under my craw, and that is you've got to go and at least touch first base. You've got to run by the bag on a ground ball. On a fly ball in the outfield, you've got to be rounding that base and a quarter to a halfway to second base on a fly ball. And that's not asking much. If someone doesn't go to first base, I just go, oh boy. And I only did it once in my career, Gareth, as a Met.
What did what?
Not run to first base. I stopped halfway there on a ground ball at second base. It was around 2:30 in the morning on July 4th in Atlanta. I was exhausted.
Maybe there's an excuse when you're in your 8th at bat.
I hit
in the wee hours.
I got a sinker right down the middle that didn't sink, and it just sunk enough, and I was so tired. It was late in the game. How many innings was that game?
19.
It had to be in the 17th inning. Who knows what hour it was in the morning.
Who pitched the 19th inning anyway?
I don't know. Some bum.
So I ran halfway to first base, and I stopped. I was just beat.
Uncle.
Two and one to Aswahe with first and third and 2 out. And he yanks one foul. 2 and 2.
That was a one-hander.
Caught it. Nicely done.
Oh, that away. Give it to the little guy.
Sweet. Say thank you.
That catch again. Off
Ricochet.
The hot dog vendor and settles right in.
See, stayed with it.
Hand.
Stayed with it.
Vendor never flinched, by the way. 3 and 2. Margot will be running. Flores plays behind him at first. And Aswahe yanks another one foul. Slider running in on. Wheeler 24 pitches in the first 2 innings, about to throw his 24th pitch in the 3rd inning. Seventh pitch coming to Aswahe. And he walked him. That'll load the bases for Will Myers. First walk given up by Wheeler.
Now, I know it's easier said than done, but that's one out. When it's 3-2, you got to somehow find a way to forget about throwing a perfect strike inside or a perfect strike outside or a breaking ball 3-2. You've got to challenge Aswahe because of Myers. Myers makes you challenge Aswahe and make him put the ball in play, not face Myers.
Myers has been the hottest hitter in the Padres lineup. Wheeler did strike him out his first time up. Myers has hit 7 home runs this month. Only Matt Carpenter's hit more.
Kind of a one-zone swing, Meyer. If I'm throwing him anything soft, it's in the dirt.
Bases loaded, 2 out. And a slider in the dirt for ball 1. It's been an abbreviated season for Myers so far. He missed 62 games and a couple of stints on the DL. Just sort of getting his season revved up in July. That catches the corner barely. 1-1.
He didn't like that call, and that's a big call right there. That's 2-0. If that's a ball, that changes the whole complexion of this bat at bat.
That's the most important pitch of any count, isn't it? That 1-1 pitch.
Well, this at bat right here is huge. This is you could break this game, drive in 3 and get your team back in the hunt.
Myers lines one into left field, a base hit. Hedges is in. Margot around third. Here comes the throw by Conforto. It skips in. He is out at the plate. Mesoraco threw it down to third to get the 4th out. But the Padres get a run on the base hit by Myers. And Mesoraco made that throw just in case the play at the plate gets overturned.
Let's see if he got him. It's a terrible slide.
Mesoraco did get the foot over to take it away.
Oh no, he's safe though. His toe came through the foot and on top of the plate before the tag.
They're going to challenge.
So the foot popped up
there,
and then it came down. It appeared on the back point of the plate before the tag was made.
Yeah.
You got to go in. Willie Mays used to go in, and the catchers, they said they used to kick at the shin guard if a catcher was blocking the plate.
Now listen, I can understand the call by Manny Gonzalez because what he sees is, well, as you see the base hit by Myers, but what he's seeing is the foot of Mesoraco just upsetting the foot of Margot. That's what he's seeing.
So here's my question. Okay. If they overturn this and that run scores, is Azwahe out?
Yes.
Or does Azwahe get a pass because he thought the inning was over?
Azwahe gets a pass, I bet you, and gets third base.
So at least 1 run is in on the play. If they overturn the call, it'll be 2 runs. And then the question is, what do you do with Azwahe, who was trying to go from first to third? And Mesoraco was alert. He knows this replay thing well enough at this point to know that even though it's the 3rd out, maybe you have to go get the 4th out.
How about not assuming? We were just talking about that. He did not.
This is going to take some time.
Yeah,
here.
they're going to have to sort all that out if they decide to overturn the play at the plate.
Come in strong.
But honestly, it's such a tough call for the home plate umpire because you can see what he sees first, right? The blocking in the foot. But Margot's foot, once it goes through Mesoraco, just comes up enough and touches the back of the plate right there.
It did appear to.
Nice play by Mesoraco. Great footwork.
Yep.
Because you can't block the plate until you have the ball.
He did everything right, and he might have still given up a run.
Then the question is, does he get the 3rd out on the advancing base run? That's an almost impossible thing to decide, because you have to decide whether Azwahe would be out, and there his toe does appear to have touched the back of the plate. Whether Azwahe would have been out anyway, right?
Yeah.
Very difficult decision for the replay umpires to sort out if they overturn the play at the plate.
They're going to uphold this.
They're going to uphold it because they don't want to have to deal with all the other stuff.
I think they're waiting so long because they're trying to figure out how to deal with the other stuff.
Okay.
I mean, the problem is that Azwahe comes around second and is heading for third. Now, does he stop because he sees the 3rd out? And if that's the case, does he get a pass?
So Mesoraco didn't assume.
Right.
Azwahe did assume.
No.
So.
Right. Let's see if we can pick this up and see what we can see with the runner who starts at first base.
The back runner here. Now he's going to run with the throw. Well, not necessarily.
So now he takes off after the play is over, and he's just jogging between second and third, thinking the inning is over.
Right.
So they could put him back at first and second.
Safe at first.
First and second.
Out. So Azwahe is out, and the inning is over. 2 runs score. And they do not give Azwahe a pass. The Mets get the 4th out, and it turns out to be the 3rd out. So it's a 2-run single for Myers. Andy Green wants an explanation from Laz Diaz, and you can certainly understand that. Very questionable decision by the folks in the replay center. Azwahe, who thought the inning was over, winds up getting tagged out for what turns out to be the 3rd out. So it's a 3-2 game. 2 runs coming home on the Myers hit, and the discussion continues. We'll be right back. entire time we were in break, Laz Diaz, who's the crew chief, eventually went back on the headset to talk to Chelsea again about the way that play concluded. It certainly appeared from here as though Carlos Eswaje stopped playing because he thought the inning was over because the third out was called. It's like in football, they tell you to stop playing at the whistle.
Watch the back runner here. They're on second base. He's going back. He would have stayed there.
And then he's jogging because he thinks the inning is over. And yet the decision by the replay officials was that that out should count, even though he was deceived by the call at the plate.
These are the repercussions that no one knew would happen once they started rewriting the history books.
It's a horrible way to officiate a game.
Yeah.
You're asking players to continue playing when the play is over, and that's not the way the game is supposed to be played.
He's going to get someone hurt. That's what's going to happen.
I mean, in that case, you know, I know Met fans don't want to hear this. Eswaje should be put back at second base.
Yeah.
Because that's where he would have been if there had been a safe call at the plate. He was not going to advance to third. He wasn't going to try. And there's the toe on the plate, which they did properly call. So Margot scores the second run, and the Mets get what appears to be a break on Mesoraco's heads-up play, going for a fourth out, which turns out to be the third out. Crazy. Wilmer Flores leading off the home third. Wilmer had a base hit and scored a run in the first inning. And there's another piece to that too. It would help so much if on a play like that, the crew chief, when the play is over, could get on a microphone and explain to everybody in the ballpark what their ruling was, because I can guarantee you 90% of the people in this ballpark have no idea what happened.
Yeah, that would take 90.
And that's not good for the entertainment value of the game either.
Exactly. It just take more time.
And I would love to hear the rationale of the replay umpires of why they called Eswaje out.
Well, they got to send us an explanation. Don't they send
They'll send the angle on the play they overturned. I don't know that we'll get any information about why they called Eswaje out.
They should.
They should. Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you want people to enjoy the game, they have to understand what they're watching. And that made no sense. Bautista took a call, third strike his first time up, and Lauer pitches outside, 1-1.
Ed Hockley just retired. Can you get him to do? Can he do baseball? Because I know he's good at letting you know what went on.
I'll tell you about all the business.
Giving him the business.
Yeah, I don't think that's why he was called out for giving him the business down there. Michael Conforto on deck. Two and two to Bautista. Bautista slams one to center. Margot goes back and lines it up. One out.
Very athletic out there, isn't he, Margot?
Yes, he is.
Well, he's all world every time the Mets see him. I don't know how he plays against anybody else.
I mean, he just backpedaled on that and made a tough catch look extremely easy.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Conforto rolled an infield hit to the left side. Now 6 for 11 since the All-Star break. 2 hits last night against the lefty and another one tonight. Flores at first with 1 out. And Michael takes the fastball away, 1-0. The defense, StatCast AI, powered by Amazon Web Services. More straight up against Conforto than we've seen lately. So all the base hits he's getting the other way now are starting to have an impact on the way they play him.
Well, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
Well, now that opens up that right side of the infield. It's not stacked the way it has been for most of the season for Michael. It's not Lauer's A move.
Well, you don't have to give Wilmer the A move. It's courtesy.
You don't really have to give Wilmer any move,
That's
do you?
right.
Lauer behind 2-0 on Conforto. And another snap throw, a little bit better. That was more like the B move. He's working his way up the chain.
Lauer has spent most of the evening tonight pitching behind and pitching out of the stretch.
Conforto hits one deep to right field. Renfroe going back onto the track at the wall. It's out of here. Michael Conforto, resurgent since the All-Star break. His 13th home run of the year, his 4th against a left-hander. And the Mets reestablish a 3-run lead. It's 5-2.
I did not think. I thought he got under this ball too much. And he did get under it. This is a high fly. But he is so strong. Just keep doing what you're doing. Staying right in. That's not an overswing.
That Mets home run means City will donate enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals to kids in need. Well, this is great to see. It's the best stretch Michael's been in all year. Mesoraco takes a big rip. Mesoraco had the big first inning hit for the Mets, a 3-run double. 3 RBIs, matching his season high. Next. Stop the swing. 3-2.
Mesoraco is very jumpy at the plate. Just take a deep breath and try to slow down.
That was interesting. That wasn't as big a swing, and it was a better swing up.
Well, he takes just a rip up there. Just like to see him be a little more controlled. Not much.
Eric Lauer, Kent State product. Pitching coach at Kent State, a former Met, Mike Birkbeck.
Oh.
And he gets him with a breaking ball. 4th strikeout for Lauer, 2 out of the inning. Lauer has a couple of ex-Met connections. Mike Birkbeck was his pitching coach at Kent State, and he learned his changeup in the minor leagues from Glendon Rush,
Oh, okay.
who was coaching in the Padres organization. Two out and nobody on now. Nimmo, who walked his first time up, and Brandon takes it high. Cutter in for a strike, 1-1. 1-2 coming. On the outside corner, Nimmo caught looking. Side retired. 5 strikeouts for Lauer, but the Mets stretched their lead. The suddenly red-hot Michael Conforto delivers his 13th home run of the year, a 2-run shot, and the Mets up 5-2 after 3. Zach Wheeler reinstalled with a 3-run lead. Eric Hosmer leads off in the 4th inning. Hosmer had a base hit to left field his first time up. Wheeler with a strenuous 3rd inning. 3 hits, 2 runs, 28 pitches in that 3rd.
Hosmer is another guy that takes a big, long, vicious swing, like he's trying to hit it out of the ballpark. He can be a little more controlled up there. I think he would have he wouldn't be swinging into that pitch. The Grom got him with that pitch too. When you have that long swing and you got to start it early, you're really vulnerable to that good cutter inside from a right-hander.
Well, he had a great year last year in Kansas City. He hit .318 and 25 home runs.
Yes, he did.
But you have to wonder the pressures of signing an 8-year deal with a small market team. You know, a team that can't afford to. Mazaraco got drilled in the throat by that ball.
Yeah, came up off his glove and then underneath his mask.
Yep. And we were just talking about this, Mike. Ooh. Oh, that hit him solid too in the Adam's apple. Oh, flush. He's a tough kid. He is.
Trouble swallowing right there.
I don't believe he wants to come out of this game.
No, but I think the most important part is you have to keep making sure you can gulp down air so nothing has been compromised in there, because it'll start to close up, you know, swelling. It'll make it difficult to breathe.
Yeah, your airway tends to be pretty important.
Good call, Ron. There you go. A little agua. I'm going to give him a hand myself.
Nice.
That hit him good.
So Mesoraco, who gets clocked in the helmet just about once a game by overswings, now gets hit in the throat, and he will persevere. Hosmer hits a ground ball. Cabrera gets in front of it. 1 out. Let's progress to tonight's Verizon trivia question. Who's the only Mets manager to win Rookie of the Year as a player?
Oh, I got that. National Leaguer. I think.
Well, you can't think. You got to know.
Oh, okay, I'll stay with it.
Okay.
I won't go. Have him check.
Just make sure you get the 4th out. Hunter Renfroe popped up his first time up. Renfroe, first round pick of the Padres out of Mississippi State. It's one hard, foul. 1-2.
Well, they've been famous over the years for their hitters to come out of Mississippi State, right? Especially in the 80s.
Will Clark.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Probably Thigpen was a hitter there, even though became a pitcher.
He threw bullets. Bobby Thigpen.
2-2.
Another one of those pitchers in the American League that I didn't have a chance. I was Keith, it's time to hang up the spikes.
Well, he did that against a lot of people, Gabe.
He threw bullets, Gary.
57 saves. Renfroe strikes out. Just the second strikeout of the night for Wheeler.
I'd like to see Thigpen's fastball in the gun today. Did you play at Comiskey, Ron?
I did. Yeah.
Looked like a racetrack, didn't it? With all that green.
It did.
I go.
That kind of racetrack?
No, a horse racetrack. Oh, well, I'll get the metal ends running.
Poor Mesoraco. He'll be using that by the end of the year.
Nice change up.
Hope you got your bet down, Keith.
Why would you come to the ballpark with a crashed helmet on?
If you want to stay anonymous. Down the left field line, Conforto ranging over. Reaches back to get it. Galvis retired. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Zach Wheeler. There it is over there. Home fourth inning, Phillip Evans leads off against Eric Lauer. And Evans is the first pitch on the ground as Wahe near the bag. Throws him out. One pitch and one retired. We check in with Steve Gelbs' report tonight. It's courtesy of Fios by Verizon. Steve?
So cool right now. I'm joined by Paul Lozito. He was actually the veteran of the game tonight, honored by the Mets. First of all, we thank you for your service. That's the most important thing. But Paul has a really cool Mets connection. He was a bat boy at the Polo Grounds and then the first few years at Shea Stadium, and he's got the picture right here. He's the bat boy with the '64 Mets team the first year of Shea. Paul, when you look back on those years, is there one moment that stands out? It had to be so cool as a 14-year-old kid and through high school to be amongst those players.
It was just an amazing feeling, Steve. I was a diehard baseball fan. Loved the Mets through and through. And then when I got this opportunity to work at Shea Stadium and the Polo Grounds and the individuals you met, I actually got to meet Casey Stengel in his first year. And he was just such a showman. And, you know, the team was really bad then. And, you know, he filled the house. The Giants and Dodgers come in. Stadium was packed. It was the amazing Mets.
Now, the stadium was packed, but you were telling me before he might have been the one with the least amount of energy at times.
Casey was really a wonderful, wonderful manager. However, when he was with the Mets, he was getting up there in age, kind of like me right now, and occasionally he'd take a little nap in the dugout. So he'd be napping in the dugout, and back then we had a player by the name of Rod Keneal, who was one of Casey's favorites, but he was a character. So while Casey was taking a little nap, Rod Keneal gave him a hot foot and told the whole team, and you see Casey just jump up. I mean, it was something I'll never forget. It was amazing.
You know, you were present for so many great moments. Is there one game that stands out above the rest for you?
Well, one of my favorites was, and this was a little ironic because I had finished being a bat boy, I was drafted into the Army, and I came back in 1969, and Herb Norman, the clubhouse manager, let me suit up and be an honorary bat boy. And that was the very famous game where the Black Cat ran across the Cub dugout and the Mets went on to sweep right into the World Series. That was very memorable. And also the 1964 All-Star game at Shea Stadium. The National League All-Star outfield was Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Roberto Clemente. Just think about that.
I mean, it's an incredible outfield. Was there one player that you interacted with either on the home or away side that always stood out to you as Rosario laces one down the right field line? He's headed for two, round in second, and goes in safely with a triple. And Paul gives it a nice thumbs up right there.
Absolutely. Two of the players that really stood out for me were Eddie Kranepool, who, kind of ironic, he wasn't much older than me when he was playing for the Mets, and he lived in not too far from where I was in the Bronx. And of course, Pete Rose, unfortunately what happened to him, but when he was a ball player, he stood for everything I would try to be on a baseball field. But there are so many of them. Every experience I had with them was just top notch.
What about Sandy Koufax? We have a picture that you sent us of you and Sandy Koufax, both in Dodgers uniforms.
He was the greatest pitcher I ever saw. And aside from being such a great pitcher, one of the nicest human beings you'd ever want to meet. He was amazing. I think he's the greatest left-handed pitcher that ever lived. He was something to see. And when he was pitching against the Mets, you know, it was hard to root against him. He was just such a classy individual.
Paul, you are a classy individual, my friend. I really appreciate the time. We could spend hours talking to you, but this was such a thrill, so much fun. And again, thank you so much for your service. It's the most important aspect of all this.
Thank you so much. And just one thing I'd like to say, thank all the men and women in uniform.
100%. Thank you so much. Gary, back to you.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks so much to Paul. That was superb.
Superb. Outstanding.
Those early games for the Mets when the Dodgers and Giants came back to town. I mean, those were the events.
I can imagine.
They'd fill the house for each game. And of course, Koufax pitched a no-hitter against the Mets in their first season.
How many times would they come in, Gary? That was back when there was no divisions.
Nine games.
9 games?
Yeah, 9 each. Curveball for a strike to Cabrera, 2-2.
So 3 times would they come to town?
3 series.
Yeah. Okay.
So those were the big attendance games. Flores on deck. Meanwhile, Rosario, 6th triple, his 4th in the last 9 games. He's now tied with Nimmo for the club lead in triples. And it's poked the other way, a base hit for Cabrera, and that brings in a run. Cabrera goes the other way with a 2-out RBI hit. Rosario scores to make it 6-2 New York. RBI number 54 for Asdrubal.
Well, they're touching up Lauer here. And that is beautiful right there, going the other way on a belt-high fastball. Beautiful stroke on that ball.
So Rosario with a 2-out triple, scores on the Cabrera hit. And now Wilmer Flores has been on base twice, a single and a walk, and he scored both times. Padres get their bullpen cranking again. They had a man up in the first inning when Lauer threw 35 pitches and gave up 3 runs. Robert Stock is up in the bullpen. And Wilmer pops one up. Galvi's out, calling all the way. Side retired, but the Mets tack on a run on Cabrera's 2-out hit. 6-2 Mets after 4. Stop. Enjoy the moment. Slow down. You move too fast.
You have to watch out when you go for a walk on the Brooklyn Bridge with the bicyclists. Ooh, they are motoring,
so to speak.
Yeah.
Christian Villanueva leading off in the 5th inning. So remember last night the Cardinals brought up Daniel Ponce de Leon, made his major league debut and threw 7 no-hit innings. And then they sent him down after the game. Out to left field, and Conforto is there to retire Villanueva 1 out. So they sent Ponce de Leon down and brought up Austin Gomber to make his first major league start. He'd been up before but pitched in relief.
Yeah.
So Gomber comes up tonight. He's pitching in Cincinnati. He's got 5 no-hit innings.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
Let's see if St. Louis can hold on to this game.
Yeah. Last night the Reds rallied after Ponce de Leon left. You know who got the game-winning hit in that game for the Reds?
He used to be a Met.
Dilson Herrera. Here's Austin Hedges. Had a base hit and scored a run his first time up, and he takes a strike. Franmil Reyes is on deck to pinch hit for the Padres. Final game of this series, noontime start tomorrow. We'll be with you at 11:30 a.m. San Diego native Corey Oswald pitches for the Mets. He was really good his last couple of starts before the break, and the veteran left-hander Clayton Richard for the Padres. It's going to be big for Corey. He grew up in the shadow of Petco Park.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. 1-2 coming to Hedges, and he breaks his bat, rolls one down to third. Evans bobbles, recovers, and throws him out.
Well, that is a smile and a sigh of relief. Your first game back, ball took a little up hop, stayed with it nicely.
Bailed himself out. So now 21-year-old Franmil Reyes is the pinch hitter. Reyes is at 103 at bats in his rookie season with the Padres. 6 home runs.
Big kid.
6'5", 275. There's no Kyle Blanks.
That's right. I was thinking, who was the big player they had? They traded to Oakland at some point.
Up and in fastball from Wheeler to get ahead 0-2.
Good up and in fastball. Tied him up.
And Wheeler takes care of Reyes on 3 pitches to retire the side. 6 in a row set down by Zach. That's his 3rd strikeout of the night. Halfway through at Citi Field, 6-2 New York. Spent another inning break talking things over with the crew chief Laz Diaz, probably hearkening back to that play where Wahe was called out for the 4th out after a call was overturned at the plate. Meanwhile, hard throwing Robert Stock is on in relief for the Padres.
Originally selected by the St. Louis Cardinals in the second round. He's a guy with a big arm that hasn't found a way to get big league hitters out yet.
Fifth different organization finally got to the big leagues this year, and there's a slider that'll help. 1-2 to Bautista. You see he's gotten beaten up pretty badly in his first 5 big league games. 28 years old, out of Southern Cal, the university, not the part of the state. And that slider backs up into the strike zone for strike 3. So Stock has to strike out to start his stint. 1 out and nobody on for Conforto, who's already having a big night.
Well, you want to go deep, let the ball come deep on the ball away. That's Conforto's first hit right down the left field line, opposite field. Now the home run, as the ball comes incrementally towards the inside corner, your bat goes forward and make contact in front of the plate. It even gets more so on the inside corner. That ball is down the pipe. But you see the key to hitting that ball to the opposite field, letting that ball get deep.
Well, the infield hit and the 2-run homer make Conforto 7 for 12 since the All-Star break with a couple of home runs. This one he lifts to center field. Margot barely has to move. And that's the second out.
I was saying Stock was drafted in the second round as Cardinals, but he was a catcher. One of those guys that has been converted into a pitcher 3 years later. So he's made his debut at the tender age of 28.
And Mesoraco skies one to shallow center. Another play for Margot. And that retires the side. So Stock comes in to set the Mets down 1-2-3 after 5. 6-2 Mets. Generation getting ready for their big league days.
Dropping that back shoulder.
He's taking his home run cut.
I hope that's an all-star trophy.
Third time around the batting order for Zach Wheeler as we go to the 6th. Manuel Margot pops up the first pitch, and Wilmer Flores puts it away. 1 pitch, 1 out for Wheeler, is now set down 7 in a row. This has been a big corner turning year for Wheeler, who's turned 28 years old since the season has begun. And trading deadline 7 days away. You have to wonder what other teams are seeing. Here's Carlos Eswaje, who's flied out and drawn a walk, 0 for 1. Such a conundrum, right? If you're the Mets and you've seen these tremendous strides that Wheeler and Matz have made this year, so that you might finally have the conglomeration of aces that you thought you were going to have. No Harvey, but you've got the other 4 guys pitching at a really high level. So what do? Do you say, great, we finally got to where we want and we're going to keep them and we're going to go forward that way? Or do we use one of them as trade bait to try and improve other areas of the team?
Not an easy call.
I think it's a real conundrum.
Yeah.
You know, and part of that depends on what you think you have in the other areas. And that's where the Cespedes news becomes so important, because if Cespedes does opt to have surgery and it costs him part of next year, that's got to have an impact on the decision-making process over the next week. Popped up onto the outfield grass. Evans, 2 hands, 2 out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Honda. Great deals are waiting at your Honda dealer. By Fidelis Care, here today, here tomorrow, here to stay. And by your local Ford dealers for great deals on Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. Visit buyfordnow.com. Myers, who drove in the 2 San Diego runs with a 3rd inning base hit.
Wheeler has gotten 17 outs, 8 of them in the year.
By the way, just one more point about the Mets decision making. We don't know what Cespedes is going to opt for, and we may find out more after the game tonight or tomorrow. But Cespedes threw out that time frame on Friday night, said 8 to 10 months recovery. We don't know for sure if that's the case. And that has an impact too, right? It's July now. If 10 months takes you to May of next year. But if it's 6 months, that changes the equation considerably. And part of that may depend on what the doctors found in the MRI, how extensive the calcification is, all those questions, and hopefully we'll know more shortly.
I know in my case they didn't know until they opened you up. You know, and it sounds awful. I know, doesn't it? But no. What happens though is once they start the operation, if they think they're only going to be in there 45 minutes, they're in there an hour and a half. That has repercussions on how long it takes you to come back. I know that for a fact, Jack.
3-2 to Myers, and he lines one into the glove of Evans. Side retired. A lot of action for Evans at third base the last couple of innings. That's 9 in a row set down by Zach Wheeler. Middle of the 6th, Mets up by 4. home 6th inning. Brandon Nimmo leads off against Robert Stock, who begins his 2nd inning of relief. Brandon has walked and struck out tonight. That was against the lefty Eric Lauer, who went 4 innings, allowed 6 runs, 6 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, a home run. Stock gets the slider over for a strike.
Robert Stock looks like Kyle Barraclough right now.
And the guy who gave up the walk-off grand slam.
Well, the good Kyle.
Yeah, I see they want to pitch upstairs to Brandon. He's really stuck on that back foot. And dropping back, that he's really squats in his stance.
Like collapsing?
Oh, he's already squatting in his stance. That's the way he.
Ball boys have gotten great at playing the caroms off the screen.
They have. Takes a little speed off that ball, too.
They got to play the spin, too, though.
I wonder if there's new protocol in these ball boys out there, because that slows the game down when the ball rolls down the left field or right field line. I mean, I've seen around the league, the ball boys and ball women are good athletes and make the plays.
What about the ball dudes?
Well, what about the ball person?
You're so inclusive, Keith.
On the inside corner, Nimmo caught looking for the 2nd time. 1 down in the home 6th. Let's check in with the studio. Justine Ward has a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. Justine. Home runs for the Dodgers early in games in Philly.
And that's off Nola, who's going for his 13th.
By the way, Austin Gomber, 6 no-hit innings for the Cardinals in Cincinnati. And like last night with Ponce de Leon, they're up 1-0. Phillip Evans has popped to first, grounded to 2nd, 0 for 2 in his first game back from the minors. And he pops one foul. He missed all the news earlier. Yoenis Cespedes on the disabled list, although no decision announced yet as to whether he's having surgery or not. That should come later tonight or tomorrow. Ty Kelly was designated for assignment, and the Mets recalled both Evans and Jeff McNeil was in uniform and ready to go if needed, wearing number 68. And Evans strikes out of the slider. 5 batters faced by Stock, 5 retired with 3 strikeouts. Let's take a look at the road ahead, presented by Tri-State Buick. Noon game tomorrow to close out the homestand. Then the Mets are in Pittsburgh for 4 and Washington for 2 before they get back to play the Braves a week from Thursday.
We're at that point of the season where, Ronnie, you disappear on a Sunday weekend.
Disappear.
Wheeler drives one to the gap in right center field, and that ball's going to go all the way to the wall. Wheeler takes a turn, but he's not going to get greedy. He'll settle for a 2-out double, his first extra base hit of the season. He's had his best offensive year, and that's his first double.
He's got a pretty decent swing. He's a threat up there. He gets himself a fastball. Look at that. Well done.
I mean, this guy has thrown 98 to 100.
Yeah, but Wheeler knows what 98's like.
That's right.
He knows it himself. Wheeler before this year had an .093 lifetime batting average. He's hitting .212 this year. That's his 7th hit. There's Rosario, who had a 2-out triple in the 4th inning and came home to score. Scored 2 runs today. 4 triples in his last 9 games. He has really flipped the switch. Chases a slider out of the zone. It's 0-2. Well, the Pirates going for their 11th straight win tonight. They won a rain-shortened game last night as they beat up on Corey Kluber, and they are whacking the Indians around again tonight.
They haven't won 11 straight in 20 years.
Good thing for the Indians, they don't have to win a game till October. I mean, they're only 9 games over 500, the Indians, and they have an 8.5 game lead. 1-2 to Rosario. He taps one foul. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. The only Mets manager to win Rookie of the Year as a player, Keith?
Willie Randall?
Frank Howard.
I thought Willie won Rookie of the Year for the Pirates. Guess I was wrong. Frank Howard was Rookie of the Year. I did not know that.
1960. And I've never heard of the guy who finished second. That's grounded to shortstop. Nice easy hop for Galvies. Have you ever heard of Pancho Herrera? Pancho Herrera finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting in the National League.
Wasn't he that great grass lawn tennis player?
It's gone. George Brett has just homered, and Billy Martin and the Yankees want the bat. Now they're going to measure it across home plate.
They might be going to call George Brett out.
Well, the Yankees win. He's out.
Yes, sir.
Brett is out. Look at this. Brett is out. And
he's steaming mad.
He is out and having to be forcibly restrained from hitting plate umpire Tim McClellan.
Forcibly restrained. That's a great phrase. This date in baseball history presented by Empire City Casino, the famous Pine Tar game on this date in 1983.
Which obviously that rule is no longer in effect. You had to keep the pine tar below the label of your bat. Couldn't go anywhere near that label.
And the ruling was overruled, and they ended up replaying the end of that game with Don Mattingly playing second base.
It was a stupid rule.
Well, of course it was, but Tim McClellan was, was ruling the way he thought the rule was written.
Of course, Ted Simmons had a home run taken away, if I recall, the first year in San Diego. I could be wrong. I'm almost positive San Diego, and Ted went ballistic. And you don't want to get Ted Simmons ballistic.
Eric Hosmer leading off the 7th inning against Zach Wheeler, who's retired 9 in a row. Hosmer has one of the 4 hits for the Padres tonight, and he takes a curveball at his feet, 2-2. Eric Hosmer signed an 8-year contract, $144 million with the Padres. was asking earlier in the game, I wonder whether his season this year has anything to do with the kind of pressure that a player might put on himself signing that kind of deal, particularly for a smaller market team that doesn't have that much to spend around him.
There's always, you got a new fan base, you're getting a lot of money, and you're scrutinized. I'm telling you, Gary, when I signed my deal extension, mine was an extension with the Mets, I felt the heat the first year. We opened that season up in Cincinnati, Houston, Atlanta, then we went to Chicago. That was the opening of that 84 season. And I was happy we opened up with that long road trip. So I can kind of get my sea legs, I guess, so to speak. When I got off I did not have a good opening series, and I finally got it together in Houston.
What exactly do you mean when you say feeling the heat? How does that manifest?
Well, you're getting paid top dollar, and you know I was $8.5 million for an extension of 5 years. That was second to George Foster. Well, George had a $10 million 5-year deal.
But how did that manifest itself for you? Were you gripping the bat tighter? How did that play in your brain or in your performance?
It was in the back of your head, and you don't need to lose focus. You got to focus on the pitcher, and you can't have any of the outside stuff out there bothering you. And I've always wanted to live up to my contracts, and I was coming to New York, and New York of all places.
So you'd be standing in the batter's box and you'd be thinking about,
no,
I got to do this because I'm getting paid a lot of money.
It was on my mind after games and before, absolutely. Particularly when I snuck it up in Cincinnati, the opening series.
10th pitch of the at bat, and Hosmer flies one out to left, and Conforto squeezes it one away. I mean, remember Carlos Beltran, the first year that he signed with the Mets in 2005, when he signed that 7-year deal. It was clear that he felt the pressure of it, and it wasn't until the next season that he was able to slough that off and become the great player that he was.
Piazza struggled the first year.
He did. Well, before he signed the contract.
Right.
After he came over in the trade.
Yes, he was getting jammed. I remember going to Bobby Valentine and going, "What's up with Mike?" And you know, he's a great hitter, and Bobby had just said, "He'll be fine. Don't worry."
Hunter Renfroe pops one up. Coming toward the mound is Flores. Up the hill. Makes the catch. 2 out. 11 in a row for Wheeler. Let's go to Justine Ward in the studio for another game break. Justine.
To see his pitch count, 74 after 6.
Got a chance. Freddie Galvis. He's got more of a chance than Ponce de Leon did. He was at 116 through 7 when they took him out. I was reading about Ponce de Leon today. I didn't realize just how severe his injuries were when he got hit in the head 2 years ago. Major brain surgery. It was very touch and go. Came back from that to make that great debut last night. 12 in a row for Wheeler. 7th inning stretch time, 6-2 Mets. Home 7th inning as Drupal Cabrera leads off against Robert Stock, who has raised his tonight. 6 up and 6 down in relief for the Padres.
Did you see that? I think we played the first pitch with Will Myers not in position. Either that or he ran to the sidelines for something.
Well, he's back on his spot now. Get lost?
I don't know. I looked out there and there's no left fielder.
I mean, it's a big city. You can sometimes lose your bearings. Cabrera had a 2-out RBI hit his last time, and he takes a slider for a strike. Zach Wheeler appears to be done after 7 innings and 99 pitches. Another job well done by Wheeler. And Seth Lugo is up in the bullpen for New York. Two and two to Cabrera. Flores and Bautista to follow in the home 7th. There's Lugo. And Cabrera goes down swinging on the slider. That's 4 strikeouts in relief for Stock, who has looked terrific. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Now Wolmer has been on base twice with a single and a walk and scored both times. 1 for 2.
How about that? Straight up.
Padres play mostly straight up. And Wolmer hits it straight up. Galvis settles under it. 2 out. So Stock's retired 8 of the 9 batters he's faced. The only blemish was the double he gave up to Wheeler. 28-year-old right-hander getting his first crack at the big leagues, and by far his most impressive outing. Here's Bautista, who's 0 for 3, struck out twice and fly to center. Here's your Mets box score presented by Fios by Verizon. Devin Mesoraco a 3-run double in the first. Michael Conforto a 2-run homer in the third. As Drupal Cabrera a run scoring hit in the fourth. All that against the starter Eric Lauer. And Bautista late on the fastball, and it's 2-2. And there's another look, in case you missed any of the information the first time around. I think you should be caught up now.
I think we should show it again after this next pitch.
I think the powers that be decline.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. 3 times the charm.
Oh. There you go.
3-2, and he gets him with a high fastball. Bautista strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. 5 strikeouts and 3 scoreless innings for Stock. Mets up 6-2.
got a pickle to pick. Me and this guy, we go on a regular date, and then Reggie gets to shoot a T-shirt cannon.
I got you, dog. Yo, wait, we gotta get the kids something.
New series prospects presented by Bowlmore Lanes Wednesday at 6:30 right here on SNY. Matt Dendecker comes in to play center field. Brandon Nimmo moves from center to right. Dendecker will bat ninth. The new pitcher Seth Lugo will hit number 4. Christian Villanueva leads off in the 8th and takes a breaking ball outside from Lugo. Zach Wheeler went 7, allowed 2 runs, 4 hits, so walked 3 strikeouts.
Lugo's last outing was on Friday night in the Mets win. Went 2 innings, gave up a couple of runs.
It's not sharp at Yankee Stadium, and Villanueva greets him with a long drive to left center. Dendecker back on the warning track to reel it in for the first out. So 1 long out and nobody on for Lugo. And now Austin Hedges, who singled and scored a run in the 3rd, grounded out in the 5th, 1 for 2. So Wheeler retired his last 12 hitters after giving up that 2-run hit to Myers in the 3rd. Wound up giving up 2 runs, 4 hits, lowered his season ERA to 4.33, and just continued his fine run of pitching. And if there were scouts watching, perhaps he raised the price. So graphically, here are tonight's starters, brought to you by People's United Bank. Not so good for the rookie lefty Eric Lauer. Outstanding for Zach Wheeler. Fastball strike to Hedges. 2-1. Jose Pirela on deck. Who's up in the bullpen? Phil Hughes getting ready for the Padres. He's had a really interesting career.
Yeah, he has. Injuries mixed in with some real great years. I think he had 1 year he won 18 ball games.
Boy, it sure does make a manager's job easier when your starter can go 7, huh?
Well, the interesting thing now is that the prime movers in the Mets bullpen, with Familia gone, are obviously Gazelman and Lugo, each of whom is capable of going multiple innings. So when you have a closing situation, do you just make it a 2-inning closing situation now?
I would. I think they're your best bets out of the bullpen. And now the only way this becomes an issue is if you run off a string of victories, right? Then you can't use Guy for 2 innings, or if you do, he's shut down the next night.
Mets would love to have that problem.
Right.
Ground ball hits a Rosario, and he throws out Hedges 2 away. As the trade deadline gets closer, what's the current market looking like for Zach Wheeler? Get up to the minute updates and rumors on Mets blog presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. I mean, you know how long it's been since the Mets won a series, right? 17 straight series without a series victory as Jose Pirela pinch hits. Well, the Padres have also failed to win their last 10 series. And Elias tells us it's only the 2nd time since World War II that there's been a series between 2 teams that enter having not won any of their previous 10 series. The only other time it happened was 1977. The Blue Jays and the Brewers had each failed to win 10 straight series, and now here are the Mets and Padres. The interesting thing about that series in '77, Blue Jays had gone 16 straight series without winning. The Brewers had gone 10. They split, so neither team broke the streak. The 4-game series. This one, unless there's a rainout tomorrow, you know, the weather's iffy, somebody will presumably win the series and snap their streak.
Did you say the weather's iffy tomorrow? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Changes my outlook.
Well, they have to play tomorrow because it's the Padres' last visit. So they may wait around a long time if there's iffiness. Did I do a double if?
Yeah, double if.
Nice. Iffiness.
Oh, I'm flying tomorrow to Pittsburgh.
Well, we're all flying to Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm going ahead of the team.
You're not working tomorrow.
My flight's a little iffy, too.
Pirela flies one out to left, and in comes Conforto. And Lugo's got himself a 1-2-3 top of the 8th. 15 straight Padres have been retired. Mets lead at 6-2. Veteran right-hander Phil Hughes takes over in relief for the Padres in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, Phil Hughes, his last game was game 2 Sunday in Philadelphia. He had a strange inning. Walked 2, struck out 3.
Started out the year with the Twins, was traded to the Padres in late May. His 13th appearance now for San Diego. Michael Conforto has an infield hit and a 2-run homer tonight. Another fine night for Michael. He's 2 for 3. And Hughes darts one outside for ball 1. Well, Hughes has had some really good years. Won 18 games with the Yankees in 2010, 16 games in 2012, 16 more with the Twins in 2014. But he's had a lot of physical issues to deal with over the last few years.
There's your shift.
There it is.
They're not believing in Conforto going the other way yet.
Right-hander.
Yeah, it's true, right? They didn't shift him as much against the lefty.
Not a hard thrower. It's interesting. I think Hughes is one of the first guys I ever heard of that had the thoracic outlet syndrome.
Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night, Darrelle Revis going to retire as a Jet. Zach Britton not to be traded from the Orioles to the Yankees and all the baseball. Grounded into the shift. Nice rollover that time. And Villanueva throws him out. That's a 5-3 putout to get Conforto for the first out.
Well, when they put the shift on, I'll agree that it's hard to get a base hit. On the ground.
To the right side.
Yes.
Here's Mesoraco. Gave the Mets the early jump with a 3-run double in the first inning.
Well, there was the Ted Williams shift, and Ted refused to go the other way. We even with the Green Monster in left field. You had the McCovey shift in San Francisco.
Of course, now you have other shift. You've got the Matt Carpenter shift where Joe Madden plays 4 outfielders against.
That's right.
You got the Joey Gallo shift where they play 4 infielders on the right side. Those are the extremes. Check swing foul, 1-2 to Mesoraco. Curveball hit out to right, and right there is Renfroe. 2 out. And now a quick message from your Tri-State Porsche dealers.
Wow.
Every time we show that spot, Brandon Nimmo magically appears at the plate.
Don't you wish all those spots were that brief, Garrett? Think about it.
Something to think about. Brandon's 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Well, Austin Gomber's no-hit bid came to an end in Cincinnati, and the Reds tied the game. Nimmo has a base hit. 2-out single for Nimmo. Second time he's been aboard tonight. Imagine the Cardinals have 2 first-time starters throw lengthy no-hit bids and wind up losing both games.
Oh, wow.
Now Jeff McNeil is going to make his major league debut. He'll bat for Phillip Evans. McNeil having a rollicking season. Started out in Double-A, moved up to Triple-A. 26 years old. When you see the numbers, he had never hit for any power in the minors, but he's had a lot of injuries to overcome, and this has been his breakout season. And he lines one to center field. Margot will play it on a hop, and McNeil has a base hit on the first pitch he sees in the major leagues.
Nicely done.
Baseball for safekeeping. Authenticator has it in his hands. And Jeff McNeil is on the board.
That was interesting to watch as he came to the plate. Fastball down the middle, jumps all over it. There was really a buzz that kind of swept through the stadium as he came up to the plate, because I think the fans have been anticipating his arrival.
Well, they've seen the numbers. They've watched this team struggle, and they've been waiting for the day that McNeil got a chance in the big leagues, and here it is.
Got a long bat. There you go. And we'll get that one out of the way. Get those butterflies, shoo them away.
And now Matt Dendecker trying to join him, looking for his first hit of the season. He's gone 0 for 17. Well, those are the numbers this year. He'd always hit for an average in the minors, but had never hit for any power. And he was great in Double-A, and then got promoted and was even better.
Hey, anytime you drive in over 70 runs and the season's not over, that's a heck of a year in the minors.
Well, McNeil has had a lot to overcome. He had 2 years ago hernia surgery and then hip labrum surgery, and he only played, I think, 3 games all year. And then last year he had to recover from the hip surgery, and then he blew out a quad and he was out for 2 months, and he played 40-something games. So he's barely played 2 years in a row, and that's why he's 26 and has never been able to establish himself. But this year, fully healthy, and said he hasn't changed his swing at all. He's just got more of a base to hit off, and the home runs have followed. Going to Dendecker. And it's on the outside corner. Dendecker caught looking. Side retired. Jeff McNeil picks up his first big league hit. 6-2 Mets going to the ninth. Jeff McNeil, fresh off his first big league hit, gets his first big league inning in the field at third base. Manuel Margot leads off the ninth and takes a strike from Seth Lugo. Worked a 1-2 3/8 and now trying to finish this game out. Margot is 1 for 3, had an infield hit and scored in the third when the Padres got both their runs. Since the third inning, 15 straight Padres have been retired, 12 by Wheeler and then 3 by Lugo. Two from Lugo to Margot, and that's lined into center field, and Margot has a leadoff hit. When we're done here, it's WB Mason postgame live. Gary Apple, Jim Duquette will have all the highlights. They will have all the interviews and perhaps some more news on Yoenis Cespedes, who was placed on the disabled list today. The Mets waiting for a second opinion before making any kind of announcement as to whether he'll have surgery or not. So that may well be forthcoming post game. So keep it here. Here's Carlos Asuaje. Now remember when the Padres got their 2 runs in the third inning, Asuaje was tagged out between second and third on what basically was the 4th out of the inning, which turned into the 3rd out when the call at the plate was overturned. We got the ruling from the replay officials, and it is so ridiculous that I have to read it. It said the replay official ruled that the runner attempting to advance to third was unaffected by the incorrect call and was tagged out. Now, I don't know what they watched, but we watched that thing repeatedly. Nice play by Flores, and he takes the sure out at first. Beautifully done by Wilmer, making sure that he got 1 out.
Wilmer getting more comfortable over there. Well done.
All right, so this was the play in the third inning. You tell me if the runner going from second to third was unaffected by the out call at the plate, which would have been the 3rd out.
He's going back to second.
Now watch it. The play's over. He's walking to third base. Clearly, he thought the play was done. Now, how can they rule, and these are the words they used, that he was unaffected by the incorrect call? This system is so broken.
Yeah, it's run its course.
You've got an out call. Oh, gosh.
I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. Will Myers drove in those 2 runs in the third inning, and he takes a curveball strike from Lugo, 1-1. Then, if you'll remember, Andy Green came out and asked the umpires to check back again to see whether he could protest the fact that the replay officials made a ridiculous call. And when the umpires went back and checked, they were told, no, you can't protest it. That's lined into left center, a base hit from Myers, and that'll bring in a run. It goes to the wall. Margot comes in to score. 3rd RBI of the night for Myers, and the Padres putting on some heat in the 9th. It's now 6-3.
Myers likes that ball down in the strike zone. Got that low ball swing.
It's been the hottest hitter in their lineup. Had 2 doubles last night, 2 hits and 3 RBIs tonight.
His last 20 games, he has 22 RBIs and 16 extra base hits.
So 1 out, Myers at second. Padres need 1 more base runner to get the tying run to the plate. There's nobody up behind Lugo in the Mets bullpen. Hosmer's 1 for 3 tonight. He's singled back in the 2nd.
Watch the follow through of Myers here. Not much. Let's go with 1 hand. Trying to think of a player that swing reminds me of. That follow through. I can't place it.
Nice curveball by Lugo. 1-1 to Hosmer. Backdoor breaking ball for a strike, 1-2. SNY Super Slow Motion brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Lugo's given up 2 hits and a run. Where would he be if Flores hadn't made that play on Eswahe?
That's true.
With the only out of the inning. Late swing by Hosmer and he fouls it off. So if Lugo gets in further trouble, what's the next plan? There's some stirring around in the Mets bullpen, so it looks like somebody else is going to get up now.
Gazelman threw an inning last night's game.
Do they trust one of the younger pitchers to try and finish this off? Nope, it's going to be Gazelman.
Yeah.
Not quite at that point yet. 1-2 coming. In tight to Hosmer, 2-2. At some point, Tyler Bachelor, Jacob Rame, Drew Smith, one of those guys is going to get a crack at finishing a game. But apparently not tonight. 2-2. Breaking ball got him. Lugo with a nasty curve strikes out Hosmer for the second out.
Boy, he made Hosmer look bad on that breaking ball. That's what happens, and you try to pull and you drop a little hammer on the outside corner.
And thus the Padres are down to their final out. Hunter Renfroe at the plate, 0 for 3 tonight, and takes a fastball for a strike. Lugo trying to finish it off for Zach Wheeler, who went 7, allowed 2 runs, 4 hits. Lugo's got 5 outs. He needs 1 more. Bounce foul, and now the Padres are down to their final strike. Speed Racer was ready to go home. 0-2. Half swing. Did he go? He did not. And the game continues. Curveball just got a piece. And Renfroe again is able to stay alive, and another ding for Devin Mesoraco. Mesoraco, when this season is over, is going to need the world's longest ice bath.
Well,
Slider off the plate. 2-2. If Renfroe keeps it going, Freddie Galvis would be next.
We saw Zach Wheeler able to exploit up and into Renfroe. Lugo has not gone there yet.
A little piece of paper on the grass in front of home plate. Nobody's moving it. Curveball popped up. McNeil will have the chance, and the ball game is over. McNeil gets his first big league hit, squeezes the final out. Zach Wheeler gets his 4th win of the year. Another big night for Michael Conforto with a 2-run homer, and the Mets even up the series with the Padres winning 6-3.
Well, the Mets explode for 6 runs and on 9 hits tonight. The big blow, of course, there's 2 big blows in this game. The bases loaded double in the first inning by Mesoraco, who'd been struggling, scored all 3 runs, got the men on the board early, and the 2-run shot by Michael Conforto is 13th. He continues to really swing the bat good since the All-Star break.
The Mets took advantage of the young pitcher Lauer, and Zach Wheeler just seems to get better and better every time he goes out.
Wheeler goes 7, allows 2 runs and 4 hits. Lugo gets the last 6 outs, and the Mets have themselves a victory. Their 41st of the year. Tonight's game summary presented by Fios by Verizon. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Cats Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwell.edu/cats. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $102,500. Victory is with the Mets tonight. They beat the Padres 6-3. More coming up from Citi Field in just a moment.